Hey everybody, and welcome to Robin's house. Today we're working on the Love Notes card workshop, and one of these cards is a fun fold slimline card. And so I wanted to show you how to make this. Now I'm showing you how to make it in a way that you can get two cards out of one piece of paper. And so that because it's a two card kit, and that's the way it makes the most sense. But you can obviously cut it down to one way, and that will also work. So a slimline card is 3.5 inches wide by 8.5 inches tall. So that's a typical card base. So if I make it just a smidgelet smaller, I can get two cards out of one card base. So I'm going to measure that out. So I gotta take my arm out. And so we know that it's 3.5 inches wide. And we have a second panel. So 3.5 is 7. And then we need a third panel. So 7, 8, 9, 10.5. So you need to cut your paper to 10.5. And then this is going to be fun because my table is not straight. And I also didn't. You need also a stabby tool and a ruler. You can use a pencil if you want to, but I prefer stuff that, whatever. So if I want to use two pieces of paper for this, get two cards out of one piece of paper, I'm going to need to make it 4 inches on one side, so that this end here is 4 inches. That way I know that this end has to be 8 inches, which will both fit into my thing. So I marked the top at 4 inches, and I'm going to mark the bottom at 4 inches as well. And then luckily that amount of trimming will fit in my regular old trimmer. So I don't need to get out my T-square or my cutting mat. It will just barely fit. I have to find the marks. There's this mark, and there's this mark. So I just have to find them both, line them up on my trimmer, and then cut. Now what I would have wanted to do is score all of my projects before I cut, because then I only have to score one time. However, because one fold goes one way and the other fold goes the other way, if you score them both the same paper, one of them especially is going to be very, very torn, and one of them will be nice and clean. So I want to make it so that both of my edges are clean, because one edge turns one way and one edge turns the other way. So I have my edge here. So this one, I know I want my edge to be pushed down this way because that's where I want to fold it. So I'm going to take my trimmer and put it at 3.5, because that's how wide the card needs to be. So I'm going to cut it. I'm going to score it at 3.5 inches, and then I'm going to turn it over so we can see that the bubble is up here. I'm going to turn it over and score it 3.5 inches on the other side. That way I will have two 3.5-inch panels ready to go. And let's see if you can see that one score line is popping up and one score line is popping down. So the one that's popping up is going to score this way, and the one that's pushing down is going to score this way. Now again, before you push it down too hard, make sure that your edges line up. And your edges line up. So that is the main secret, because trimmers vary greatly, and so does your ability to do things perfectly. There's like a 1/8 of an inch delta between when you're scoring. I mean, it creates a pretty wide delta. So this has been my most successful one, and then sometimes you just need to go like that. So we did one. And now we can do the other, and it should turn out exactly the same way. If we go 3.5. You see there? Yes, we can. So 3.5. So we can create that bowl, turn it over on the big side. Create 3.5 again. And then to remind ourselves, we want that small end facing out. Oops, I pushed it down. I shouldn't have pushed it down yet. We want to make sure that our ends match up nicely. There we go. So that works too. Now, the tricky part is cutting the papers to match, because when we cut the something happened to my voice. We cut the well, the tricky part happens when we go to add the paper. So we know that the paper, because we want a border, an 1/8 of an inch border around our project, our paper should be cut at 3.5. So we're gonna cut it, 3.25, sorry, 3.25, cut it at 3.25. And then we're gonna do kind of the same thing we did before, only we're gonna put our paper on here, and then I'm gonna scratch, because now our angles are all wrong. So I'm just gonna scratch into my paper approximately an 1/8 of an inch from the top and the top of both of these wedges, in order to get the most perfect angle. Because if you don't do that, let's see what happened. Okay, so I did cut it at that. Okay. Because otherwise, that worked out very nicely. And this one worked out very nicely as well. So that's how you do it. On this one, my borders are a little wider than I would prefer in places, because the angle is different, even between 3.5 to 3.25. The angle is different on your papers, and so that's why we can't just measure and assume that it's 1/4 inch smaller. We have to actually make those marks and have it be on there. So then this one you would be cutting for this page, and you would just trim off what you don't need, and then you would do the same thing. So these are the same and these are the same, but these two pieces you can use flip-flopped, I think. So let's give it a shot. So now we want the inside, 3.25. So I cut my paper so that I can use this small section with a big section and this section with a big section, but these two sections, they can just go front back. So let's illustrate that for you. So now I've got my coordinating pattern in the middle. And then I'm gonna just mark it at about 1/8 of an inch and mark it at 1/8 of an inch. Put it in my trimmer, find my marks. Sometimes it's not so easy to find your marks, so be aware. Make them overstated, because in the end you're cutting that exact line. So if you scratch it or even make a pencil mark, in theory, well, my trimmer didn't trim it. If you make a scratch mark, in theory, that's exactly where you're going to cut. And so it won't matter if it's there. Okay, so then we have this, which fits perfectly. Oh, that's wonderful. See, that is a great way to create these. And then on the other side, well, this is going to go on this one. Just like this one is going to go on this one. So you just have to match your angles to your inside pieces and which ones you want to go there. But anyway, this is a super fun card, very versatile. And you can get two very impressive looking cards with one sheet of White Daisy cardstock and several of the colored cards. And it's super cute. It's so this one is like this. You open it up and it's like that. Very cute, very impressive looking, and so sweet. So thank you so much for watching. Happy crafting.